Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Buitumelo Mamadi Mamarope, and welcome to Talisman Science and Career Conversations, Passion or Option. Today, we are joined by the magnificent Refilwe Kudumela. Before we go on and talk about what Refilwe have in store for us, we would like to actually run some ads. So like, every show I actually do this. We do have a fundraising going on. We are fundraising for a streaming platform. Please, if you do want to join the movement and donate towards the purchasing of a streaming platform, do contact me, DM me, or find a way to contact me, okay? And then do contribute to that. Today we have Refilwe. Let me get Refilwe, and then she will tell us all about herself and how she got to do this science thing. Refilwe is doing big things. Let me get her. Yay, Refilwe!
Hello.
Yes, that's Refilwe there. Very energetic. I actually love her energy. Had to say that. That's Refilwe Kudumela from Limpopo. Refilwe, just greet our audience and just, say hello. I saw that energy, but I just want you to say hi to everyone and welcome everyone to the studio.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, Refilwe, I just want to say something. Try to speak up. We're having audio problems. Just speak up a little bit. And yeah, and then let's start with the interview. You know how we do it on the show. We take it back to the roots. Tell us about who is Refilwe and how did Refilwe grow up in Limpopo, and tell us about your childhood, your school life, all those things.
Okay, I am Refilwe Kudumela. I was born and bred in a village in Limpopo called Metz village. It's in the Maruleng municipality, so our nearest town is Tanin. So I went to Ramadao High School, where I was the head girl, by the way. I'm sure they are in here, they're listening. Okay. So yeah, man, that's just me in a nutshell. I am an introvert, extrovert. Science is what I do. Well, I can say that.
Refilwe, you said actually a very interesting point there. You were a head girl.
Head
Tell
girl,
us
yes,
about your
yes.
schooling years. Your schooling years, like what kind of a child were you growing up in school? Like you did mention that you are more like introverted, but like which schooling activities did you participate in? And yeah, and tell us about your school heading days.
As for activities during the first years of high school, I was doing netball and lady soccer. Yeah. And yeah, I wasn't that much active. You know how school is. So I actually focused more on the studying than anything else, but there were extramural activities here and there. And the head girl days, what happens in our school is they actually elect class reps. Like each class will elect class reps, and then those class reps will then be will then go and elect a school a learner representative committee. So it happened that in that learner representative committee, I was elected as the president of the representative committee. Well, there were just a few things here and there. We did a lot of fundraising and just afternoon studies and yeah, and the big day, the matric dance, we organized all that. And obviously, when you're a head girl, you are giving speeches every now and then, so something like that. But it was fun.
So,
Yeah, you were saying?
so this thing of talking, you are used to it, Mrs. Speech Girl, Mrs. Head Girl.
Oh, not necessarily. I was kind of dragged into it, but you have no choice but to just follow suit. But I mean, it's not really that difficult if you grow into it. So I guess I also grow into it. I was a very quite shy child. I'm still shy, okay. But there are some situations that will force you to just grow out of your comfort zone and talk in front of people.
Yeah. Talking of that, like your schooling years and stuff. So I'm interested in the type of school that you went to, like you said you are from the village, so I don't know whether did you go to a town school or you were in a village school.
I know it was a public school, a very public school.
And in that school, I would like to think you went to the public school from primary up to high school. So
Yes.
I know usually there are teachers who like to groom learners to do certain things. What is it that your teachers were grooming you to do?
Well, our teachers just let us choose actually, but there was an instance in grade 10, I think. This when you're starting with what's this thing? High school. You'll be doing from grade 8 and grade 9, you'll be doing all those natural science, EMS, social sciences, the general ones. And then when you branch now into grade 10, that's when you take up your maths, the science, your life science and accounting and all those. So it happened that just because I had good marks in EMS, our principal was actually like, okay, in the accounting class, there were like, I think 5 or 10 students. So the principal was like, no, this cannot be. So he just started calling out names. Okay, you guys, who and so and so and so should go into the class here accounting. And I was like, no, I know I don't like accounting. So I had to go and present my case, go principal. Or, okay, you know what, principal? Nah, accounting, not one thing. I don't see myself doing accounting. So I need to go back to the science class. So yeah, I would say that that was the instant, but I think he kind of saw it because even when we were doing our matric, he was like, okay. He was the one who always used to remind us when to apply and all those things, give us all the list of the institutions and the prospectus that he had available at the time. So he didn't actually channel us. The channeling and the guiding you to doing certain careers came mostly from home. You know how parents are that want you to be a nurse, a social worker, a doctor, an engineer, and all those things.
Oh, okay. I saw that you did actually fight for science. You were like, I want to be a scientist. So,
I mean, it was either that or I do accounting.
so at home, your parents were grooming you to be a scientist, or like, what is it that they wanted you to do?
At some point, they wanted me to do social work just because, hey, Spanbani is doing social work and is working, nursing, there is a bursary, all those things, just security, as all parents would want for their kids. I mean, all parents want nothing but security for their kids. So for them, social work, nursing was a sense of security.
Yeah, I see. Okay, now let's take it back to when you now found science, because I see that by the time you were doing grade 10, you knew that you want to do science. So
Yes.
when exactly did you know that you want to do science? When was that moment when you found science and you fell in love with it and then you were, ready to fight for it?
Well, I'd say, okay, grade 12, the life science, when we're doing life science, the DNA, the meiosis and mitosis process.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that. Those were interesting, when you're learning about all those. And
Mm.
okay, um, by then, when we were deciding about what to do and all those things, I had decided that, okay, I'm going to apply for pharmacy. Okay, pharmacy, sharp. I apply at Medunsa. But what happened is I didn't hear from them until when I went to the post office later in the year, I think it was around October or so. I found a letter. Okay, I think the letter was somehow delayed. So they were inviting me to an interview and the selection test, whatnot. So when I got the letter, I realized, oh, it's actually late. What can I do? Okay, let me call them. I go to the principal's office. Okay, principal. Okay, this is the situation. I need to use your phone. Okay, I used his phone. I called them. Okay, when they eventually gave me a date, the date was actually a day before I was scheduled to write my final matric exams. I was like, okay, do I go? Do I not go? I'm like, nah, I'm not going. And it was the only institution I had applied to at the time, which was a blunder. I always advise people nowadays to apply to a lot of institutions. So, okay, sharp. I write my final exams, passed very well. Okay, what do we do now? Because that was the only institution I had applied to. That meant I was now going to do late applications. So I came to UL. When I got here, I realized that, okay, the only programs that are available or that still has spaces available are the Bachelor of Science in the School of Physical and Mineral, Molecular and Life Science, computer science and mathematics. I was like, okay, definitely not computer, definitely not physical science and chemistry, because to me, physical and minerals translated to that physics and chemistry. I was like, okay, life sciences. There we go. There's my life science. And then I went there, obviously, because that was the only option that was available at the time. Okay, first year. First year, fine. I get there. Okay, you're excited because varsity and all those things. Biology class, okay, I'm loving this. Maths, not so much. Chemistry, not so much. Okay, but then I was still keen on doing pharmacy, so I still applied the same year. Okay, I applied for the following year. Still the same thing happened. Okay, this time I got a letter, but it didn't really say much as to whether they accepted me or they just told me I should go write NBT test. I was like, okay, maybe there is a reason why I'm not getting into the pharmacy program. Okay, sharp, let's just continue with this. I continued second year. Now, at second year level, that's when you take up microbiology, biochemistry, physiology, and whatever that you want to take. So I took microbiology and biochemistry and physiology. Okay, then I started liking microbiology. When when a lecture gets in class and they tell you, okay, microbiology, now this is what we do. If you're a microbiologist, you can work at a dairy, make yogurt, when they tell you all those things.
I'm not stopping you. You are very faint. Actually, I think maybe you should come closer to your mouthpiece, because like your mouthpiece. Yes. No. Leave the phone.
Oh, the mouthpiece.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
then the lecturer now telling us that microbiology is actually used to make yogurt, beer, bread, and the likes. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I can actually do this. I can actually take this further. And I decide, okay, sure. Final year, I choose biochemistry and microbiology. The combo works. It was good for me because for me, physiology and microbiology didn't really make sense. And honors, now microbiology. Okay, and then at honors level, that's when you get to do a little bit of research. So there were topics that were given. So when there was this topic now of screening medicinal plants for their properties, like antibacterial properties, I was like, okay, this is as close as possible to pharmacy. So there I have my consolation prize. You see. So yeah, that's how it started.
You mentioned microbiology, pharmacy. You've been mentioning all this physiology and all that. Just give us a brief understanding of what is physiology, what is pharmacy, so that a young child at home can understand what you're talking about, and maybe it's the careers they would want to follow in the future. Fifi? I think Refilwe froze. Kudumela? We have Refilwe there freezing, Just to touch on what she was saying, she mentioned microbiology, physiology, and pharmacy. So with my understanding, microbiology is actually, we did microbiology in the other episodes that we had. We had Miss Refilwe, not Refilwe, Miss Buitepo Hopani telling us about microbiology. Oh, Refilwe is back. Let me not take the stand from her. Fifi, I wanted you to touch on physiology. Just tell us what is physiology and what did you, pharmacy? Yeah, you mentioned pharmacy and physiology and all those other subjects that you did. Just give us a brief of what they entail so that, learners can find inspiration from that.
Okay, I can start with microbiology. Microbiology is the study of living organisms that are small and cannot be seen with the naked eye. Like you need a microscope to see that. And
Mm.
now physiology has to do with processes in the body, um, not necessarily process only, but even the body parts and how they interact with each other and all those. Now pharmacy, now you're studying drugs, be it the production, be it how they work in the body and all those. Drugs, I mean like your pills, your capsules and all those things. Medicine.
So basically, pharmacy, it's people who make medication.
Yes,
So
yes,
the reason why we have pharmacies out there and then you go out there and look for medication is because somebody did study pharmacy.
yes,
And
they
then
did study
you
pharmacy.
would say that physiology has to do with how they relate with your body, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Um, you did actually tap into a very exciting research there, which is closely related to pharmacy, like you said. That's what you wanted to study, and it was about screening medicinal plants. That's actually very interesting, especially with our South African context of saying that. I mean, as Africans, we know that we go to traditional healers and then we see them everywhere and they use medication. So, what was your research all about? Just give us an
Oh,
overview of what you were looking for.
okay. With the research, we're actually looking at indigenous medicinal plants that are used by traditional healers for different purposes. Could be for treatment of either stomach complaints or stomach ailments, bacterial infections, burns, and all those things. But specifically, we were looking at those that were used for treatment of bacterial infections. So this is why we're screening for antibacterial. So now bacterial infections go hand in hand with um, antioxidant activity, also anti-inflammation. So for antioxidant activity, I don't know how to explain it, but antioxidants are free radicals. I mean, antioxidants are chemicals that stabilize free radicals. Free radicals are those chemicals that are unstable in the body and they can lead to oxidation stress that eventually damage your DNA, proteins, and all those things in the body. So now, what we're looking for is these medicinal plants. Okay, we first screened for in order to determine whether they have antibacterial, antioxidant, and all anti-inflammatory properties. That means they have chemicals within them that actually enable them to carry out or produce those effects. So now these chemicals are called what we call secondary metabolites. So firstly, what we screen for is okay. Let's check what these plants have in order that makes them to now produce this antibacterial or antioxidant effects. Okay, we screen for those using chemical test, and then um, eventually we trying to get the sense of okay, what is actually healing in these medicinal plants? Because okay, these traditional healers are using them, but they don't actually know. They just know that, or they have the belief that they can heal bacterial infections, but they don't know what is in them that makes them to heal these bacterial infections. Okay, then After screening those, for the phytochemicals, then you go further to test. Okay, since you guys are saying, the traditional healers are saying these plants can now heal bacterial infections. Let's have bacteria and test if indeed they can heal. Okay, we'll extract the plants, then have do assays, antibacterial assays that will determine. Okay, let's see, you have this bacteria, for example, E. coli. Let's see, is this plant able to now inhibit E. coli and all this other bacteria that would have used. Now I was using.
Okay. Like let's hold it there. You are going deep. You are going deep. I think we lost our viewers when we started talking about antioxidants and anti-inflammatory and stuff.
Okay.
I think let's break those. Then after breaking those, we can take the conversation further now. So just a quick understanding, rewind. Antioxidants would be, you said antioxidants are free radicals, right?
No, antioxidants are substances that stabilize the free radicals. Free radicals are unstable molecules that needs to be stabilized. Otherwise, they will cause problems in the body, like damage your DNA and stuff like that.
So that is actually the problem, that when someone now starts complaining of stomach ache, starts complaining of a certain ache somewhere in the body, right? Because now you have free radicals causing problems in your body.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah. So we to be my lady, we to and then you also spoke of anti-inflammatory. Those ones would be you getting your I don't know what you call it in English.
English is just inflammation. Swelling.
Swelling, yes. Simple English would be swelling. So it would be those, maybe an infection that causes you to have swelling, and then you know that there's a plant that can actually cool down this swelling.
The swelling, and at the same time,
go on.
Okay, what we're looking for is if you can have a plant that can eliminate the bacteria and still cool down, or what can I say? Okay, let's just stick to cool down the inflammation. Then it's a win-win situation, because you have one plant that can do two things instead of using two plants or two drugs.
Okay, so when now you were doing assays meaning that you are doing experiments now, you are testing these plants. So when you were doing that, what exactly were you looking for within these plants?
I was looking for, I can say, chemicals or substances that are in the plants that are able to carry out this effect that we're saying, this effect of now getting rid of the bacteria or healing the bacterial infection, and also the inflammation, the swelling.
Just tell us about your confirmation test now. How are you confirming this? And please break it down. How did you know? How did you now extract these chemicals, these substances from the plant, and now you were confirming that in fact this plant is able to heal a bacterial infection, or is able to cool down the inflammation? How are you doing that?
Okay, first we'd extract the plant with different solvents. We were using non-polar solvents and polar solvents. I don't know how to explain non-polar and polar solvents, but anyway.
Yeah, it's just chemicals in the lab. You are using a chemical app.
Yes, the chemicals in the lab. Normally they are liquid, so because the plants are now solids, so we'd mix the plant materials together with the liquid solvents, and then shake for a moment, then extract. We filter, then we get the filtrate. It is the filtrate that we'll be using to now test. So we would have bacterial strains. Normally we choose the ones that are safe, the 80cc strains, the ones that are safe to work with, so that we also don't infect ourselves. So with those now, we would take the bacterial strain, subject them to at a certain concentration, I forgot to say, then subject them to the plant materials and see what happens. Okay, there will be different concentrations, obviously. And if you see that and we use an indicator for growth of the bacteria. Okay, you would have grown the bacteria in a liquid medium. So now when you are testing now, you do the assay, the test, and then we incubate, like we put the bacteria in contact with the plant material or the extract for 24 hours. We leave them for 24 hours, okay? For 24 hours, we must now have an indicator to show that, okay, if there's still growth, that means the extract didn't show any, does not have any activity, it did not inhibit or kill the bacteria. But if there is growth, the indicator tends like, okay, if there is growth of the microorganism, the microorganism is supposed to change the color, sort of because it's still living. There will be enzymes in the microorganism that will turn the color of the indicator so that we can see, okay, yeah, it's purple now. That means it's still living. If it didn't change the color, then that means it was not able to survive. That is how we confirm that, okay, now we have the activity.
Okay, just to wrap it up and, like just to make it a little bit clear for myself and the others who are listening. So I take that what you would do is that because you now know theoretically so that this bacteria is able to heal, let's say, an infection that is caused by a bacteria called E. coli. So now you would take this E. coli and give it this plant, this material, this plant material. So basically you are trying to kill it with the plant material to see if it's gonna kill it or it's not gonna kill it. If it kills the bacteria, that means the plant is indeed effective and it can heal the bacterial infection. But if it does not die, that means maybe the traditional healers are just giving us a general medication which is not working for what it's supposed to be working. Because again, they give us these things and then we know that when I take this one, my stomach ache will go away. But then possibilities are the stomach ache will not go away because it's not working. It's not for that. It's like when you are taking what would that be? An antibiotic, but you have a headache. So you are taking medication that is not meant for something. Okay, Refilwe. So now, what did you find in this study of yours? How did you find the findings at the end?
Okay, the findings were that some of these plants had activity against, like they were able to inhibit microorganisms like E. coli and P. aeruginosa. Okay, most of the gram-negative microorganisms were the ones that had activity. Yes, like they were the ones that were killed compared to their gram-negative counterparts. Oh, in terms of explaining what a gram-negative is, what a gram-positive is, whew, okay, that is deep. But then
it's fine. It's the type of bacteria that we have, yeah.
Yes, let's just stick to the type of bacteria that we have. Okay. So the type of the bacteria, it's that, okay, I was using 4 plants. So all of them actually had activity that, like, they were able to inhibit the bacterial strains. Obviously, the proportions will differ, but the most effective one was Scuria pinnata, which is also known as Sebaban instead.
Oh, Sebaban.
Sebaban. I don't know what you guys call it in Setswana. But I think, Spedi and Setswana,
Maybe we have Sedebetswani.
Okay. It could be that. But yeah, that is why when I now took my study further, I went and isolated those antibacterial compounds in from the plant.
Oh, okay. So what actually motivated you to do this research? What was the whole aim of doing this research study? Except, or maybe not except, maybe that was the real main aim. So like, what actually motivated the whole study?
Okay, first of all would be to document remember that all this information is available from traditional healers, not necessarily um, in the internet
Google.
also. There is, yes, there is information in the internet, but it's just bits and pieces. So it was to document and to also try and find alternatives, because most antibiotics that are available in the market, some of them are toxic, some of them now are resistant to the available strains. And also to what? Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, so now did you guys, after finding this kind of information, did you guys take it back to the traditional healers and, tell them, Hore, we have confirmed that actually your plants do heal certain diseases or do work against certain bacteria? Did you go to them and do some science communication, tell them what their medication is able to do or what it's not able to do?
No, unfortunately, we didn't get to do that.
The reason, or maybe the study was just for academic purposes, or maybe you just generally don't do science communication.
No, it was just for academic purposes. But I think it is actually one of the requirements, or sort of what outcomes that NRF wants. It wants people to now do science communication, go back to the community and actually tell people about your research. So in the future,
Yeah, that's why we are here actually. We want you to communicate your research. Yes, that's what you are doing right now. And we also want to, like inspire those ones that are still coming class to know like science is there and it's for everyone, and there are actually cool, exciting things out there to do, except only the mandatory things that we grew up knowing that, like when we are kids, we fantasize over. I know there's this one fantasy of saying you can remove milk from tea. I don't know if did you guys have that also in your school, but
Nah.
then I know in my school everyone is just obsessed over removing milk from tea, and then it's the thing. So we just want to tell people there are so many things you can do in research, like Refilwe have been doing with plants out there. And then as an African nation, we have so many resources. We are rich in indigenous resources that need scientific intervention. Going forward with our interview and the scope of your research, like now you even mentioned the issue of science communication there. Do you think that within your space is science being communicated effectively?
To the community. Well, to the community,
Yes,
I wouldn't
to the
really say
community.
that it
Yeah.
is. I wouldn't really say, because normally it's just amongst the science community, amongst the academics, because there would be conferences that we'd go and present amongst other scientists. But those ones with ordinary community members, not a lot of them are happy. Yes, they have one that happens go Elisaras, the longitudinal conference. But I've never went there. I'm not sure how that works, but I just know that that one, they actually get to engage with the community. But we don't have a lot of those, because that only happens like once a year. So I think we should have more of those.
Yeah, we should have more. I mean, science must stop being a taboo, and stop being something that is only
Difficult, as
known
they put it,
by certain people.
you
I
know?
mean, it's for everyone. Like right now, this science that you just communicated right now, it affects everyone in our country, or should I say continent, because we do use traditional medicine.
Yes, we do.
Um,
We do.
yes, we do. So now, going forward, what do you think as scientists, as a scientific community, what do you think we should do to take our science out there to the world and people know about it?
Well, first of all, we can have platforms like yours. Like I feel like there could be more, you know, and also radio interviews, just go out there and tell them. I'm not sure if also, there are a lot of YouTubers who are YouTubing about story times, about vlogging about all these things, but I'm not sure if I've seen one that's vlogging about science and problems and how to troubleshoot research and all those things. I haven't seen those unless if they are. But we can use the platforms that are already available, the media platforms that are already available to communicate.
Okay, so now share your thoughts about the future of work, especially with 4IR in mind, like the kind of research that you're doing. Let's talk about traditional healers, for instance. Do you see traditional healers being digitized? Maybe you just take your app, your Uber app, and then you Uber your traditional healer to your place. Or you book an appointment. You book an appointment online.
Or you can you can do it, Skype with them, Zoom with them. I think they can get there because first of all, now most of them have cell phones, so that's a step in the right direction. So
So do you
I
see
see them
that
getting there. And I see them also incorporating, the science that we do. Okay, I don't know if maybe they can get to a point that they say, okay, I want to use this plant, or I use this plant for this. Go check this plant for me if indeed it does the same thing that I'm saying it does. Like it heals the same disease that I'm saying it heals. And then like, okay, they do heal, okay, sharp. And then they can go further with that. And from there they can actually, with the isolation that we do, they can actually be some form of collaboration, and we end up having our own traditional drugs, traditional medicine.
Yes. Yes, actually, that's actually where I'm going with this conversation, to say, I mean, we know we have the people with the knowledge. These are the
You know
traditional healers. They know which plant can do what.
what is
And we have people like you, people with modern science expertise, right?
Mhm.
So can there be some kind of collaboration between the two parties, to say, now we bringing both parties into one space, and then we're building something so that we enter the market? I mean, imagine going to an indigenous pharmacy where you just go there and you buy sebebetswane, and yes, you buy it. We command, just like we go buy and alu products and all these other products that we buy that are actually from indigenous plants too. So,
and and it will actually be
what are
convenient
your
for everyone.
projections there actually? What do you
It
see
will
in
actually,
that space?
it can happen, but the issue is that the traditional healers actually have, because they are old people and stuff like that. They have issues, and because they have trust issues. I meant to say, because they have different beliefs now. So they're like, okay, they want to take our knowledge, but not knowing that we actually want to work together with them. But it can happen as long as they allow it to happen. I mean, as academics, as scientists, we are ready anytime. As long as they are ready, then we can do it.
That's actually a good. That would be a good space actually to see
It would
Africa
be,
come alive.
you know, it would be have our own medication. Like we don't have to go to pharmacies. We can just go into. Actually, they do have multi markets. Just that at the multi markets, they're only selling the plants themselves. But if you now have these extracts, you've tested them. Okay, they're not toxic at this concentration. Then you have a traditional healer that you consult to a traditional healer and tells you, okay, you have this and that. Go buy this and that at that market. But the traditional healers and the academics or the scientists are now co-owning. You see, I see it working hand in hand. I see it working.
You actually mentioned something right now that want me to take you back to your research.
Mm-hmm.
When you guys were doing this, did you not
Mm-hmm.
find other plants to be toxic at a certain concentration? Like, to say
They
we
were.
can only use them to a certain concentration?
They were. The one that I'm talking about, Scuria pinnata. It was as you increase the concentration, now this plant started to be toxic. So when you use it now, it must be used at a low concentration, as low as possible, because otherwise you risk now having damaging your liver and all those things.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, you know, when we get the medication from the healers, they never. It's different from the market, from pharmaceuticals. You know, there it's in capsules. You cannot dose. I mean to say, there is a dosage. You know how many pills you should take and stuff like that. But when you get to the traditional healers, they just give you a chunk, and they tell you maybe get a handful or whatever. Anyone's hand, like everyone's hands are not the same, you know, because I'm thinking of those concentrations and stuff. So it's actually
so you see, the market that the traditional healer and the academics can co-own can actually come with it. So we have, this plant, we tested it. It's active against this bacteria. It has antioxidant activity. It has anti-inflammatory activity at this concentration. And it is not toxic at this concentration. So we make now, say, capsules or whatsoever of the plant at that concentration, and then we sell it to the people. Or we can just say, the traditional healers, to avoid them giving people the plants that they don't know the concentration, they can just prescribe, like when you go to a doctor and they write you a prescription, so they can just write them a prescription of, go get Sibabani at that market, and then they'll give you maybe 4, depending on the severity of your disease. They'll just give you 4 and say, take this 4, drink them at the same time, or drink each one every day, and then you see everyone is safe.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we need to do to the market there, so that, you know, safety first.
Safety is important, very important. That is why when we're also doing this research, we also try and check the safety levels of these plants.
Yeah. Okay, Refilwe, going back to the way you were introduced to science. I mean, you spoke of your teacher who wanted to take you out of the science class and and take you to the accounting class. And I'm thinking he did that, or she, sorry, she did that because,
no, it's a he.
it's a he.
Yeah.
He did that because he felt like you need to balance the equation. That's the other thing that our parents usually do. You know, it's all about what they think and not about what the learner or what you as a child want. So we often find problems with learners who find themselves doing things for their parents. So what message do you have to the parents out there who are actually insinuating that learners should do something of their own interest?
The way my grandmother used to tell me that her father did not allow her to go to school because women were not supposed to get educated at the time. So now I always take it back to say, telling people what to do is actually not good. Look at how my grandmother turned out because her father told her what to do. So as much as as parents would like to advise our kids on what to do based on whatever, because some parents would like to live their dreams through their kids. So I think as a parent, the only thing that you can do is to just guide, suggest, do some research. If a child is telling you that I want to do acting, for example, you say, acting, sure. Go and research, and also to advise the learner to also go and research, what is it that you need to do in order for you to get into acting first thing? What do you need? What sort of formal education do you need? The equipments, the resources, I mean to say. So everything goes back to researching whatever that you need to do. You need to go deep and find out, is this thing doable? Can you make money out of it? You know. So as much as they want to impose their own beliefs, their own, careers onto the kids, they also need to listen. They should just stop a little and listen to them. Okay, you want to do this. Why do you want to do this? Because first of all, they don't even know why. You might find that a child wants to follow a career in science, but you actually don't know the reason why. There's actually something. There might be something that the child has seen that actually propelled them to doing science.
That's actually beautiful right there. And reflecting back on how you got to fall in love with science, what do you think, except us in the scientific community communicating our science, what do you think we should be doing to introduce young people to the field of science
I feel
in
like
terms of career guidance?
okay, it goes back to the schools. So they every now, because I mean there's only about how many career exhibitions?
Usually
If I
one or
remember in my
two
days, one. Yes, I remember I
or
only
none.
went to one or two, or none if you're not lucky even. So as graduates, I feel like I don't know how, because everybody's busy with their own lives, but if you just give a little time, take a little time from your schedule, go back to your school, your home school, the one that you went to, and just tell them what is it that you do, how did you get there, and what is it giving you now, like in terms of jobs, in terms of knowledge, in terms of, like, tell them from where you started and where are you now. That would be like now giving back and telling the learners how which paths to follow. Not necessarily telling them, but advising them on, okay, you can actually do this, you can do this. But first, you actually have to find out what is it that they want to do. Some of them don't even know what they want to do. But then you going there might actually encourage them to follow the same path.
Yeah, very true there. A lot of young people don't know what they want to do.
They
Trust me,
don't.
I work with them. I work with them every day, and they come to me, hey, I like your show. I like what you're doing. What can I do? Like, no, you should be saying, I want to do this. How do I get there? Don't say,
Yeah, they,
what
they
can
don't know.
I?
They don't know. We had a situation at home where my little brother is doing matric. So at this point, he also doesn't know what he's going to do next year. He doesn't. And now
Imagine.
there's applications. Imagine you have to fill out applications now. So we actually had to decide for him, okay, maybe you can do this. Not at first, what I did is I gave him options based on your subjects. This is what you can do, and this is where it can lead you. And he's like, I don't know, just decide for me. And the next thing, he will grow up and tell us that we chose things for him to do. But at the time, he did not have options, and applications are closing. I mean,
Yeah. Anyway, talking of that, do you have any advice that you want to give to an aspiring scientist or any learner out there who doesn't know what they want to do?
Um, what I'd tell them to do is obviously to check your channel. I mean, it is very informative. It's giving a lot of background on the science and everything. Um, and what they can do is to just research. Okay, first thing, they should check their strengths. Obviously, you cannot say you want to do computer science or you want to do accounting when you know you're bad at it. So you just have to check your strengths. Um, when you know what you're good at, then it's easy. Okay, if I'm good at maths, if I'm good at with computers, then I can do computer science, then I can do statistics and mathematics and all those things. So before you can even get to those, but the first thing that you need to do is to research. Okay, if I want to do mathematics, or I want to do, say, microbiology, what do they need? Okay, they need life science, they need maths, they need um, physical sciences. Okay. okay, sorted. I'm already doing those things. Okay, microbiology, what does the microbiologist do? Where does a microbiologist work? Those are the things that they need to do. They need to just research and research and research.
Okay, Refilwe, we have a very beautiful comment here coming from Lindo Kuhle. Lindo Kuhle says, this interview is very fruitful. I have learned a lot about medicinal plants and I am inspired about your work. So, yeah, you inspired someone today.
Yeah, thank you very much. He's actually one of my students, one of my honor students.
Oh, okay. Hi, Lindo. Okay, good. Yeah, we don't have any other comments, but then I advise people to actually drop comments. Refilwe will be able to respond to those comments going forward, and we're gonna have this video on YouTube where you can actually also interact with her there. So Refilwe, I think this takes us to the end of our conversation. Thank you so much for joining us, but before you leave, I have a big question for you. Was you doing science passion or option?
Well, I'd say at first it was an option and passion followed afterwards because science chose me, then I chose science, you know.
So says someone who actually fought with the principal.
No. Well, it was either that or I do accounting and I know in my head that accounting is not my thing.
It's not.
So I guess it was passion at the end of the day.
Yeah, okay, actually let's not tint it. I was not trying to shift you, but actually you were right. When you got to University of Limpopo, you were like browsing through the window, like what's there, what can I do?
What can I do? Well, I would have went to communications, I would have went to maybe maths and computer science, but I chose science, specifically microbiology.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you actually found science at that moment, because look at you, you are actually doing well, and then you're actually turning things around. So that's it from us. I am here with Refilwe Kudumela. Refilwe, when people want to get hold of you on social media, where do they catch you?
I am on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. LinkedIn, just search for Refilwe Kudumela. Twitter is @thereal_Fifi. Instagram, it's Filwe_0828.
Yeah, that's Refilwe Kudumela. If you want to get hold of her, use those handles, and that's it. What do you want to say to our viewers before we leave?
Thanks for watching. And anyway, just whatever you do, research.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We're going to keep that word in mind. Research. Good night. Bye.